All right, guys. Today we're in the kitchen because it's raining outside and it's nasty. It's been raining for 3 days here in Alabama, and I didn't want to be outside, so I'm in the kitchen. It's nice and quiet and warm. So yeah, today we're going to talk about shotguns, kind of like this guy, 870 12 gauge. We're talking about shotguns and like patterning them, which basically means with different loads, how is it going to hit at different distances? What size is the group going to be? Where is it going to be in relation to your point of aim? Patterning your shotgun is kind of like sighting it in. Some shotguns you can sight in. I guess if they have a ghost ring on the back and an adjustable front, you can kind of move them around, especially if you shoot slugs out of it a lot. But with this one, it's just a cylinder bore, 18.5 inch, I believe. It has a bead on the front. The bead is set up to where it hits at like 100 or so. So anywhere between 0 and 100, it's going to hit a little bit high, and that's true with slugs and with buckshot, as I'll show you on some of these targets. They're all going to hit high at your short range, like 5, 15, 25 yards. Your home defense ranges, they're all going to hit a little bit high. So that's one of the most important things about patterning your shotgun is you'll figure out how high that ammo is going to hit. Another thing, when you pattern it, you'll figure out how big of a group size you're going to get. Like at 5 yards or at 10 yards, how spread out are those 9 double-aught buck pellets going to be? The general rule of thumb is for most guns and with most ammo, you're going to get a 1-inch spread at per yard. So like 5 yards would be a 5-inch spread, 10 yards, 10-inch, so on and so forth. But what I found out with this particular barrel and the ammo that I shot, it was a little bit smaller than 1 inch. It was maybe like 3/4 inch or something like that. And what I was shooting was these Rio Royal Buck 9 pellet double aughts and some Winchester Super X. These are also 9 pellet double aught buck. They perform pretty much the same, but one you can find pretty much anywhere. The Super X and the Rios, you can find, they're pretty popular, but they're not as easy to find as these Winchester full power Super X. All right, so as I'm trying to get these shells back into the side saddle, the elastic loops. All right, so now that we've talked about what patterning is and why you should do it, let's get into some of these targets and see what they did. First, we'll go, pardon me. All right, this one. This is probably the bread and butter target. This is with Rio, the Rio double aught buck. This is what I keep in the gun. So at 3 yards, I can't remember where the point of aim was. I had a little sticky target somewhere. It got blown off, but it was probably, I'm gonna go ahead and say it was below the point of impact. But anyway, at 3 yards, it's 10-inch, 2-inch group with all 9 of those pellets. The wad is in there somewhere also. At 5 yards, that's 15 feet for all you mathematicians out there. 15 feet is like the size of a normal room. Like if you enter a room, bad guys all the way on the other side, this is the group size you can expect. It's about the size of a fist. 3.75-inch group, which like I said is a little bit smaller than 5-inch group if you're doing 1 inch per yard. All right, next, 7 yards. This is 21 feet. That's about like a hallway distance or like a large living room. So 7 yards, 5.25-inch group. So a little bit bigger than a fist. So like at 7 yards, that'll, all 9 pellets will land in a chest. So what that tells you is you do have to aim the shotgun. It's not a, blast everything in the room type of gun, especially with a double aught buck. You're gonna have to aim it a little bit. That being said, you're gonna have to aim a little bit low, because that was my point of aim at 7 yards, and you can see how high it hit just at 7 yards from aiming right there. So if you aim at a belly button, you'll probably hit right between the nipples. If you aim right between the nipples, you'll probably hit them in the upper chest and the throat. So at 7 yards, buckshot is not really a sniper load. You're not really gonna be able to put that all 9 pellets right where you want them. All right, so that's 7 yards. Let's see if I got one. There we go. All right, here is Rio double lock buck at, I believe it was 15 yards. It might have been somewhere between 10 and 15 yards. Yeah, my top point of aim was here. This is before I realized how high it shot. And you can see where some of the pellets landed and the wad hit way up here. So I aimed down here on the second shot at, it says, I think it was 15 yards. And you can see where the pellets went. That's a pretty good group. These two little guys, you could say don't worry about them, but I would worry about them, especially if I'm shooting it in my house and I have neighbors and all that stuff. So just short of 10-inch group at 15-ish yards. That would probably land, if you aimed dead center when you pulled, and it was aimed there when you press the trigger, you would land all of those on your target probably. If they were turned sideways or, you know, under a stressful situation, you're moving, they're moving, you would probably only land a few of them. So at 15 yards, 45 feet for the math wizards, that's, you know, you're probably not going to be able to land all of your pellets on target. But the good news is 45 feet is like a really long hallway or a really big room. Like my house is barely, probably a little bit more than 45 feet from end to end. So I'm never going to have a shot that long in my house. All right. So we talked about, I think I already went over slugs. This is at 25 yards. Buckshot at 25. I didn't even shoot buckshot at 25 because with this barrel, I don't believe that's a wise choice to shoot buckshot with that barrel at 25 yards. Maybe if somebody's like outside and like, I don't want to get into that, you know, being 25 yards and stuff like that. Why you would want to be shooting somebody, whatever. The spread's going to be pretty big, like probably all the way across this paper here. So at 25 with that barrel, maybe go to a slug. Bam, a 1-inch group with a 1-ounce slug. Like I said, it's still going to be a little bit high because that's my point of aim. That's my point of impact with these two slugs. I was standing at 25, or I might have been like propped up on a little bench or something. I can't remember. But anyway, it's going to hit a little bit high. So aim at their stomach, I would say. All right. So I said we'd go over 2 different loads. First was Rio. This is Winchester Super X at 3 yards, 2 1/4 inch group, 10 yards, 5 3/4 inch group. And you can also see the group's a little bit lower maybe. There you can almost see the little orange from the little pasty I had right there. Pretty much nailed it at 3 yards. So, excuse me, 3 yards, maybe up to 5 yards, point of aim, point of impact. Farther they get, the lower you're gonna have to put the bead on their body. So, yeah. All right, for all you guys that are wondering about birdshot in your 18-inch home defense gun, I got a target for that. This peppered beauty right here is the target from, what is it, Winchester number 8 birdshot. 5 yards. Can't really remember where the pasty was because it got blasted and probably fell off the paper because it was wet, didn't stick good, whatever. 5 yards, that's the majority of it right there. Some of these did kind of spread out. It's really hard to tell where each pellet went because there's like 1 million in each shell. There's squirrels outside. Anyway, there's like 1 million in each shell, and by the time you get to 15 yards, they are all over the place. So 5 yards is probably this little area. 10 yards, you can see that's where the wad, that's about the best I could tell where everything hit was based off the wad. So that's probably about like that. 15 yards, I mean, I'm getting hits like all the way down to here and all the way out to here. So pretty big spread at 15 yards. So I know that a lot of people say you know, you can use birdshot for home defense, whatever. At 3 yards, yeah, it's going to be a pretty tight little ball of pellets, and they're probably all going to act the same, bird and buck, slug, whatever, at 3 yards. But what if you have to take a shot at, you know, 5 yards or 10 yards, 7 yards, if you got a bigger house? Those pellets are really going to start spreading out. Yeah, one little pellet's probably not going to do much if it hits a wall or whatever, but also the more they spread, the less lethal that group of pellets are. Because, I mean, yeah, if you hit a bird with a pellet, it'll wing it and it'll fall. It probably won't die till it hits the ground anyway. So, main thing, if I'm going to be protecting myself, my family, in my house with a shotgun, I'm going to put double-aught buck in there because within my home distances, those 9 pellets are going to do the most amount of work. You know, the most amount of work in the group of shells that you could put in them, birdshot, slug, whatever. Slug probably would do some damage, but they're a little bit harder to shoot. They recoil like crazy. I even saw like a flash, like a blast coming out when I was shooting earlier today. So double-aught buck, load the whole tube with it, every single shot, double-aught, don't stagger them, because you're not going to know, you know, what your first shot is going to have to be. You're like, oh, I use birdshot. You know, the jury's not going to think I'm trying to kill them. Well, you're shooting them with a gun. Why else would you shoot somebody with a gun? To try to get them to stop what they're doing. If they die, that's just part of it. But the main reason is you're trying to get them to stop doing what they were doing. I want the most effective tool. I'm going to use double-aught buck in this shotgun. I don't really use a shotgun for home defense, but you know what I'm trying to say. All right, guys, we got a couple 1-ounce slugs right here. I'm gonna load them up. I got a little steel plate, about 25 yards. I'm gonna see if I can ring one with a slug, see what it sounds like.